Hello everyone! Buckle up, because we're about to embark on an incredible journey through one of the most fascinating stories in human history. Imagine a world of vast deserts, towering minarets, and bustling markets filled with the scents of spices and the sounds of 1,000 languages. This is the story of the Islamic world, a civilization that shaped the course of history for over 1,000 years. In just a short span of time, we'll cover the rise, the golden age, the challenges, and the enduring legacy of this remarkable culture. So, are you ready to travel back in time and witness the birth of empires, the brilliance of scholars, and the beauty of a faith that united millions? Let's dive in. Our story begins in the 7th century in the Arabian Peninsula, a harsh and arid land where tribes roamed the deserts, surviving through trade and herding. Life was tough, and unity was rare. But everything changed with the arrival of a man named Muhammad. Born in the city of Mecca around 570 AD, Muhammad was a humble merchant who, at the age of 40, began receiving revelations from God through the angel Gabriel. These messages became the foundation of Islam, a new faith that called for belief in one God, compassion for others, and a life of moral values. At first, Muhammad's teachings faced resistance. The powerful leaders of Mecca saw his message as a threat to their traditions and authority. But despite persecution, Muhammad and his small group of followers held firm. In 622 AD, they were forced to flee to the city of Medina, an event known as the Hijra, which marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. In Medina, Muhammad built a community based on faith and equality, uniting people across tribal lines. This was just the beginning. Over the next decade, Muhammad's message spread like wildfire. By the time of his death in 632 AD, much of Arabia had embraced Islam. But what happened next was even more astonishing. Under the leadership of the first 4 caliphs, known as the Rashidun, the Islamic world expanded at an incredible pace. In just a few decades, Muslim armies marched across the Middle East, North Africa, and even into parts of Europe and Asia. They defeated the mighty Byzantine and Persian empires, bringing lands from Spain in the west to Central Asia in the east under Islamic rule. This wasn't just about conquest, though. The early Muslims often allowed people of other faiths, like Christians and Jews, to live under their protection as long as they paid a tax called the jizya. This tolerance helped create a diverse empire where ideas and cultures could mix. By the 8th century, the Islamic world was under the control of the Umayyad dynasty, with their capital in Damascus. They continued to expand, reaching as far as the borders of China and India. But power struggles and unrest led to their downfall, and in 750 AD, the Abbasid dynasty took over, moving the capital to Baghdad. This marked the start of what many call the Golden Age of Islam, a time of incredible progress and creativity. Baghdad became the heart of the Islamic world, a city of learning and culture unlike any other. Imagine streets filled with scholars, poets, and traders from all corners of the world. The Abbasids built the House of Wisdom, a grand library and research center where ancient texts from Greece, Persia, and India were translated into Arabic. Let's talk about some of those brilliant minds. There was Al-Khwarizmi, a mathematician whose work gave us the word algorithm and laid the foundation for algebra. His books were so influential that they were later translated into Latin and used in Europe for centuries. Then there was Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, a philosopher and scientist whose medical encyclopedia, the Canon of Medicine, became a standard textbook in European universities for over 500 years. And let's not forget Al-Biruni, a scholar who calculated the Earth's circumference with amazing accuracy and wrote extensively about the cultures of India. These thinkers and many others didn't just preserve knowledge, they expanded it, asking big questions about the universe, human health, and the nature of life itself. Science wasn't the only area where the Islamic world excelled. Art and architecture reached new heights during this time. Think of the breathtaking mosques with their intricate tilework, towering domes, and elegant calligraphy. Places like the Great Mosque of Cordoba in Spain or the Alhambra Palace are still standing today, reminding us of the beauty and skill of Islamic craftsmen. Literature also flourished, with poets like Rumi writing verses that still inspire people around the world. And let's not forget the 10,001 Nights, a collection of stories like Aladdin and Sinbad that have captured imaginations for centuries. Trade, too, was a cornerstone of this golden age. Muslim merchants traveled along the Silk Road and across the Indian Ocean, connecting Europe, Africa, and Asia. They traded everything from silk and spices to gold and ideas, making the Islamic world a global hub of commerce. But what made this golden age possible? A big part of it was the Islamic emphasis on knowledge. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, encourages learning and reflection, and this inspired generations of Muslims to seek education. Rulers and wealthy patrons funded schools, libraries, and hospitals, creating an environment where curiosity could thrive. Another factor was the vast network of trade and communication. The Islamic Empire stretched over 3 continents, allowing ideas to flow freely from one region to another. A scholar in Baghdad could read text from India, debate it with a colleague from Spain, and write a book that would be read in North Africa. This exchange of knowledge was unlike anything the world had seen before. Of course, no empire lasts forever, and the Islamic world faced its share of challenges. By the 10th and 11th centuries, the Abbasid Caliphate began to weaken. Internal divisions, corruption, and revolts made it hard to maintain control over such a vast empire. At the same time, external threats emerged. The Crusades, a series of wars launched by European Christians starting in 1096, aimed to capture the Holy Land, including Jerusalem, from Muslim control. These wars lasted for nearly 2 centuries and brought destruction to many parts of the Islamic world. Although the Muslims, under leaders like Saladin, eventually regained much of the lost territory, the Crusades left a lasting mark on relations between the Islamic world and Europe. Another major blow came in the 13th century with the Mongol invasions. These fierce warriors from Central Asia swept through the Islamic heartlands, destroying cities and killing millions. In 1258, they sacked Baghdad, burning the House of Wisdom and throwing countless books into the Tigris River. It's said that the river ran black with ink from the destroyed manuscripts. The loss was devastating, and many historians mark this as the end of the Islamic Golden Age. But even in the face of such destruction, the Islamic world showed resilience. New powers rose to take the place of the Abbasids, including the Mamluks in Egypt, who defeated the Mongols in several key battles. As we move into the later centuries, 3 great empires emerged to carry the legacy of the Islamic world forward: the Ottomans, the Safavids, and the Mughals. The Ottoman Empire, based in what is now Turkey, became one of the most powerful states in the world by the 16th century. They controlled much of the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe, with their capital in Istanbul, a city that bridged east and west. The Ottomans were known for their military might, stunning architecture like the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, and a system of government that allowed diverse communities to live together under their rule. At their peak, they were a force to be reckoned with, even challenging European powers for control of the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, in Persia, the Safavid Empire rose to prominence. They established Shia Islam as their official religion, setting them apart from the Sunni-dominated Ottomans. The Safavids were masters of art and culture, creating beautiful carpets, miniature paintings, and architecture that still amazes us today. Their capital, Isfahan, was described as half the world because of its beauty and grandeur. Over in South Asia, the Mughal Empire ruled over much of India, blending Islamic traditions with local cultures. Under rulers like Akbar, the Mughals built incredible monuments like the Taj Mahal, a symbol of love, and one of the most famous buildings in the world. They also promoted religious tolerance, allowing Hindus and others to practice their faiths freely. These empires weren't just about power and beauty. They were also centers of trade and innovation. The Ottomans controlled key trade routes between Europe and Asia, charging hefty fees for goods passing through their lands. The Mughals grew rich from the production of cotton and spices, exporting them to markets as far away as Europe. The Safavids were known for their silk trade, which brought in wealth worth millions of dollars in today's money. Together, these empires kept the Islamic world connected to the global economy, even as Europe began to rise in power during the Renaissance and Age of Exploration. But by the 18th and 19th centuries, the Islamic world faced new challenges. European powers, fueled by industrialization and colonialism, began to encroach on Muslim lands. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty force, was called the Islamic Man of Europe as it struggled to keep up with modern technology and military tactics. By the early 20th century, much of the Islamic world had been carved up by European colonizers, with Britain and France controlling large parts of the Middle East and North Africa. This period of colonization left deep scars, disrupting traditional ways of life and creating borders that often ignored cultural and ethnic realities. Yet the story of the Islamic world doesn't end with decline. In the 20th century, many Muslim-majority countries fought for and gained independence. Nations like Egypt, Iraq, and Pakistan emerged as modern states, seeking to reclaim their place on the world stage. Today, the Islamic world is incredibly diverse, spanning over 50 countries with a population of more than 1.8 billion people. From the skyscrapers of Dubai to the ancient markets of Marrakech, the influence of Islamic culture is everywhere. And let's not forget the contributions of Muslims to the modern world. Whether it's in science, technology, or the arts, their impact continues to grow. So, what can we learn from this incredible journey through 1,000 years of history? First, it's a reminder that no civilization stands alone. The Islamic world was shaped by its interactions with other cultures, just as it shaped them in return. From the preservation of ancient Greek texts to the spread of algebra and astronomy, the achievements of this civilization are part of our shared human heritage. Second, it shows us the power of faith and ideas to unite people across vast distances and diverse backgrounds. And finally, it teaches us about resilience, the ability to endure hardship, adapt to change, and rebuild even after the darkest times. As we come to the end of this story, I hope you've been as inspired as I have by the richness of the Islamic world. It's a history of triumphs and struggles, of brilliance and beauty that continues to shape our lives today. So, the next time you solve a math problem, admire a piece of architecture, or read a timeless story, remember the scholars, artists, and dreamers of the Islamic world who helped make it possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring the wonders of our shared past.